What's going on, guys? Today we're talking New World. We're going to be talking about the Musketeer build. I've been asked by a few of my company members how to play the Musketeer build and how do you effectively play as a Musketeer, because you'll find that in a lot of situations, a lot of fights, you're quite squishy against a lot of open world PvPs, against the Grey Tax users, against the Ice Staff users, Fire Staff, Ice Gauntlet users. They are pretty heavy hitting. So yeah, without further ado, I'll show you my build and I'll show you exactly what I do to play this build. I should probably preface all of this. I should have prefaced all of this and said, this is all my personal opinion. Of course, this is still the first week of the game. Like, metas haven't been discovered. I might be wrong, might be right, but this is how I personally play, and I win a lot of my fights 1v1. Sometimes even 1v2 as well. I find myself in the open world PvP 1v2 and I win. So back to this. We want to be focusing mostly on dexterity. You want to get to a point where you get the dodges cost less 10 less stamina. And the reason you want that is because it just adds your mobility. What you want to be focusing on as a musket player is most of your damage comes from your musket. Your rapier does do damage, but the problem with the rapier doing damage is once you're in that melee range against these muskets and these Great Axe users, against these hatchet and Great Axe users, or these hammer users. Hammers don't do that much damage, but these heavy hitting players, especially sometimes spear users as well, or sword and shield users, these guys do tons of damage, and they take less damage as well from you as a melee user. So since we expect mostly dexterity, less constitution, we are very, very glass cannon, very squishy. We do a lot of damage, but we take a lot of damage, so we need to make sure we're not in the range of that. So this is obviously personal preference. Whatever you want to do, you want to go with constitution, more dexterity, completely up to you. So if we go to my musket build now, it is level 18 at the moment. We're leveling up. I know what skills I'm going to choose though for the next 2 points, so we're going straight into that. The first thing you want to be taking on musket when you first level it up is your cold shot. This gives you more damage by 5% if aimed down sight for more than 3 seconds. Really, really good for when you're starting off. When you start off a fight, don't shoot straight away, especially if you've got the attack of advantage. You really want that extra 5% damage. It really means a lot, especially when you have a shot loaded in with your other abilities. So what I usually go is I go the cold shot, and then I go for the powder burn. A powder burn is a really, really, really good active. This 110% weapon damage and a burn status that deals with 20% weapon damage per second for 9 seconds. At the beginning, you want to be starting off, when you're first leveling up your musket, you want to be starting off with powder burn. The reason why you want to start off with powder burn is it's especially if you've got the element of surprise. Let's assume you've got the element of surprise. Starting off with powder burn, you've already got that ticking damage going off on them, and a lot of players panic when they see that. I don't want to say bad players, but a lot of inexperienced players, they panic when they see ticking damage. They think they're taking way more damage than they're normally taking, and they panic, and it's much easier to shoot someone who's panicking, and it's much easier to outplay someone who's panicking. So powder burn into the backdraft. Again, now this is really good for you because you get more damage while the enemy player is burning. So more damage on your main attacks, always good to have that. The next thing I go for is your traps. The traps, this is very, very situational. I would not advise to use the traps mid-combat. This is something that you'd use probably at the beginning, or maybe at some point where you have the time to put a trap out and you know you've got the time to do that. What you need to be doing with this trap is you need to be creating space. That's the main thing you've got to be looking at. When you're in a fight against someone and they're sort of around there, throwing a trap around here, you've guaranteed that at least at this side, they're not going to come at you from this side unless they want to sort of fall the trap, especially if they see you throwing that trap out. If they don't see you and they go there, all the better, because you do more, you've got now the time to shoot, back off, reload, shoot. You've gained yourself that time. But the main objective with this trap is to create spaces, to create that area where you're like, okay, I am safe, relatively safe from this area over here, or from this area, wherever you throw the trap down. So that's the main objective of using the trap. It's not to get someone, it's not to trap someone per se. That's what a lot of people fall into, is they think that the trap is useless because no one's falling in it. No, it's really good because you do create that space there where they don't know exactly where the trap is and they're not going to look at the floor looking for the trap. So that's sort of that zone there where you threw your trap in. You're relatively safe from that zone, right? Sometimes even throwing it below you as well right? And as they run at you to hit you, you just back off. They fall into it. That can work, okay? But again, you don't want to prioritize throwing a trap down over a reload or a musket shot, a free musket shot that you can get off, because that's your main source of damage is your shots, okay? The next one, stopping power. Now this is really good for knocking back enemies, for staggering enemies, for making sure enemies don't come anywhere you. Again, this is all about creating space, about giving yourself that distance you need to get off as many musket shots as you can. That's where your main source of damage is, main source of free damage is from, okay? Now this is a personal preference. You can either continue upgrading your stopping power. Personally, I didn't. I waited until sort of around near the end to upgrade my stopping power, because while it's really good where you can stop exhausted, reducing stamina regeneration speed and stuff, when you're at that lower level, not many people in the open world PvP have stamina regeneration perks at that low level yet, so it's not as worth it as some of the other passives that you can get from here. So for example, things a passive like hustle, really good to have after dodge, gain haste, increasing movement speed by 10% for 3 seconds. You're dodging away and you're running, you've got that haste. Dodging and running, you've got that haste, and then you've still got the haste while walking backwards as well, so it increases your... Oh god, I've aggroed a leopard. The other thing after that as well, tactical reload, definitely a must in my opinion. Again, when you dodge, it reloads the musket. Absolutely brilliant. I love this because you're in a fight, you've got the enemy hatchet or great axe player coming at you, you take a shot, bang, reload, bang. That's it. It's 2 free quick shots that they're coming at you, especially if you're decent at aiming. The one after that, then I go into thinking, okay, so now I've got tactical hustle, I've got tactical reload. This is where people start to have their perks, where now you've got more regeneration, stamina regeneration. So you go for upgrading your lasting impression and then your supplementary repulsion. Again, when you make someone exhausted, that means you completely deplete their stamina with your stopping power. When stamina is depleted, especially if you're playing against an enemy musket player as well, for those of you who don't know, muskets take exactly 2 seconds to reload normally. When you're exhausted, it takes an extra second. So it gives you the fighting edge against an enemy musket player, but it also gives you the fighting edge against any players that are blocking. When you use this shot and it hits them when they're blocking, it gets rid of all of their stamina completely, which makes it very, very easy for you to then keep taking shots at them, and it makes it difficult for them to catch up to you because they run slower, they don't have the stamina to dodge forward to get to you. And it's just a really good ability. Again, the reason I didn't go for this earlier was because people aren't tanky enough at the low level, and because they don't have the stamina regen perks. Again, this is my opinion though. If you'd like to go for this, I prioritize, to be honest with you, hustle and tactical reload. But you can prioritize lasting impression and tactical reload. I think you should get tactical reload before going for the final step in this, which slowing them for 10% by 10% for 8 seconds. This is really good. This counters in, if you hit them with this exhaust, so they're slow already from the running, but they also gain a slow for 8 seconds on top of that. So they're slower trying to get to you. And the main goal of a melee play is to try and get to you to do damage to you. So all of this gives you the more of a power to stop them, which is great. I like that. And then I go into, this is all personal preference. Whatever you want to level up at any point after this is not a big deal. I went for dealing extra damage to targets with an active crowd control status. This is really good because this works on stopping power. It also works on powder burn because that's a crowd control status as well, and it will work on your trapper. So all of your abilities, this will give you 10% extra damage if you land any of them. It's free damage. Why not take it? Hitting a target with an active debuff triggers Empower. This gives you more damage, 5% damage for 5 seconds. Again, this all just stacks. You get 5% empowerment. Perfect. Increases stamina damage from standard shots. I think this is really good for tanks if you're fighting against people who are more like medium to heavy armor build, because if they're blocking, it's an extra 10% armor penetration as well, but it's very it's situational for tanks. I like it because of that. You may not want to take it, it's up to you. And then the 10% increased damage to targets below 30% health. It's just an execute. Why not take that? It's good. Again, personal preference here. I like empowering headshot. I find that I can land the headshots. So if I land the first headshot, especially the first headshot, which is a surprise headshot, and it's empowered by powder burn, you get the extra 10% damage for 5 seconds after. Why not? You go for the powder burn into stopping power with that. Perfect. I then went for Ballistic Advantage, removing the fall off from standing musket shots on more than 50 meters away. Brilliant perk. I don't know why most people wouldn't take it. I personally love it. Especially if they're running away from you, you want to make sure to get as close as soon as possible. And so for my last two, I'll be taking Hit Your Mark, again for these people that are further away, and I'll also be taking no, I won't not be taking Height and Precision, because this is a kind of a trap skill. I'll talk about those in a bit if people want me to talk about them, but I'll probably be taking accuracy penalty while hip fire removed. The reason I'll take this is if you pay attention to how long it takes for your musket to properly adjust as you're walking a hip fire. If you've got that perk, you don't have to wait until it adjusts. Sometimes you'll miss shots when you think you've got it aimed, purely because you're still waiting for it for the reticle to completely to not have that RNG element. So that's probably what I'll be taking last. So those are the skills that I'll be taking for musket. Oh my god. So now we've gone into someone. Now you can probably see what I'm talking about here, actually. I'm just going to create some space. He's a hatchet user. There we go. There's a dodge into the headshot. Oh, that missed the headshot. I was exhausted there. We're loading up a fire shot. And that's hit. And he runs away. We need to be careful here because he's probably baiting us, which we can see he's baiting us. Hang on, I gotta deal with this thing. Where has he gone? He's had the time to heal up now, which is not good for us. But as you can see there, I was caught off guard, but the main thing that I wanted to do was create space. Give me the space to go the stun, to stun him, or to just to make the space to give the shot off. Because as you can see, he was fully melee. He had the spear and he had the hatchet, so he had the mobility to try and come after me. But once he used that mobility, and I was able to get away from him because I got more mobility. What I could have done is the riposte into the heavy attack and then gone out, but when you do damage through the riposte and they're stunned, that stun doesn't matter how long the stun usually lasts, that stun will break. When the stun breaks when damage is dealt to them. Now, the things that I'd like to talk about really quickly before I end this is the trap builds that I don't want people to go for. Alright, I mean, again, this is, personal preference. If you'd like to go for this, go for it. It's up to you. Abilities like critical reload, I think in my opinion, are a waste of a point. And I see a lot of people running critical reload with a musket because they think, oh, free shot, awesome. Unfortunately, critical reload, you have to guarantee landing the 3 headshots. And you see, I'm normally good at landing headshots, but as you saw in that fight, I landed maybe 1 or 2 headshots. All right, and you have to land these 3 headshots consecutively within 5 seconds of each other. That is very, very difficult to do, and you'd have to be on some crack to do that. So it is not, and the reward for getting it is not that impressive. For one shot. If it was an empowered shot, maybe one empowered shot, maybe if it did like an execute damage, maybe. But landing 3 headshots, and as well, when you're at that level, when you're landing 3 headshots, they should be close to finishing them off anyway. So it's not needed, in my opinion. Things like chronic trauma. If powder burn is a headshot, extend the powder burn duration to 13 seconds. Personally, I won't take this. The reason why, it's only a 4-second increase in powder burn, and by the time this comes up, you should have been doing enough damage anyway, musket wise, and a lot of people just heal through that powder burn at the end. The main thing about the powder burn is it gives you that the damage over time, but it also gives you that panic that you also saw with that one. When I landed the powder shot, they started to panic and run around rather than focusing me. That's what you want with the powder burn. Just small things as well about the musket. So when you take a shot with the musket and you switch to a weapon for 2 seconds and you switch back, it auto reloads. A lot of people don't know this. It's very, very useful if you find yourself in a situation where you're shooting someone and you need to go back. You don't have to worry about taking your musket out and reloading again. When you take it out, it should be reloaded, provided there are 2 seconds. 2 seconds have passed since you've put it away, or swapped weapons. Another thing about the musket, when you're taking shots and you find yourself exhausted, to give yourself a quicker reload, use one of your loading abilities. A lot of people don't know this. If you hang on, exhausted and oh, hang on, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, see how long it's taking me to reload? It takes me much longer, or about a second longer to reload when I'm exhausted. I completely forgot about the hang on. Let me just get rid of the. Look how long it takes to reload. It's almost as long as my stamina takes to come back. But if you do the hang on. You're loading that in much quicker, and it doesn't matter what your stamina is at. A lot of people don't know that. It's really great for that. I highly recommend you do that. And that's all I can tell you about the musket for now. Maybe I'll find out other stuff. If you liked the video, leave a like. If I've missed anything, make sure to let me know in the comments. Let me know what kind of build you like to use and what you'd like to see in the future. But yeah, thank you for watching.